location because I spend too much time recording in the room. Plus, I spend a lot of my days in my room, like 24/7. Probably why I'm very fat. You can't see it. I'm actually still in my pajamas, by the way. I was just doing some stuff. So I've been wanting to react to this. This will probably be the last Watch Window reaction video I'll do for now, because like next month is September. September's in a few days. To give you an example, let's see, how further are we to September? All right, so we're on the 27th. That gives us 1, 2, 3, 4. We're 5 days away from September. Holy shit. But yeah. You know, more recently, I've started to realize, I've always realized that Hollywood was pretty shady, but I never knew that sometimes movie studios, the thumbnail really got me, both thumbnails actually. The initial thumbnail was actually Scarlett Johansson and Kevin Costner, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't know about Kevin Costner wanting to sue Universal when he made For Love of the Game because they did a lot of changes to the edit. I remember. Let's see. Kevin Costner. I'm gonna just look this up. I know I'm gonna go very long on the video. It's intentional. You prepare. Yeah. Won Razzie Award. I'm sorry. This movie was awesome. Yo, everyone loves this movie. All right, let's see. Post production, extended cut. Trying to remember what happened because gee. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was like interfered heavily by the studio. But the most I remember of Kevin Costner was when they were doing For Love of the Game, and he wasn't a producer on it, but it was like the studio. There was like a lot of stuff, and the studio made a few changes. I remember hearing one where he did a a full frontal nude scene, and he got angry, and it turns out Universal responded saying, "We showed that to test screenings, and a lot of them just laughed at uh, overall, I still love For Love. I really enjoy For Love of the Game. That's a very underrated film. Honestly. Also, not a lot of people know that it's Sam Raimi, which is interesting that it's Sam Raimi because it's not like his most of his usual work, which is more like cult horror films, more like cult classics, like the Evil Dead films and Darkman. Hey, but yeah, the Scarlett Johansson thing with Disney, I do side with Scarlett Johansson though. I feel like, although if I'm going to be honest, my mom says I should never say this, but it is most definitely China's fault. I could not give a shit about the Chinese government. I don't give a shit about them. They're the ones who unleashed the coronavirus on us. So I say blame China. Even though I don't necessarily hate Chinese people, I hate the Chinese government. In fact, I've been seeing lots of people who don't want to react to the trailer for the Eternals just because they're like, "Oh, Chloe Zhao's against the Chinese government." I think Chloe Zhao should be against the Chinese government, but then I'm looking at this. The first clip I see here is Back to the Future. Now I remember the whole Crispin Glover thing where he was actually demanding so much money to return for the role of George McFly, and as a kid, I since I spent too much time on the internet when I was in like starting to come into my teens, I had known about, the fact that they had recast George McFly. There was lots of recastings in Back to the Future. I remember it was they recast Jennifer in part 2. Although that's because Claudia Wells decided to temporarily retire from acting, take a bit of a break from acting, I think to take care of her mother, and then they recast with Elizabeth Shue. The most obvious recasting choice. That's where the Deadpool meme should be. Like, these timelines are so confusing. That would be a funny meme now. I should do that. Someone should make that meme of Back to the Future Part 2 and just Deadpool cuffed to Colossus, like, these timelines are so confusing. But I remember the Crispin Glover one was so just because ever since then, like no one ever acknowledges Crispin Glover. He's steered far away from this, but from what I know as well, I think this is kind of also. I do remember when Eric Stoltz was initially cast as Marty McFly. I remember seeing clips of that, and I was like, yeah, he doesn't really seem like because from what I know, like they always wanted Michael J. Fox in the role, but I don't remember Eric Stoltz suing the studio, but I do remember Crispin Glover did. But let's check this out. WatchMojo.com's top 10 times actors sued the movie studio. You know, I'm expecting for the next one.
Think, McFly, think! Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 times actors sued the movie studio.
I don't want to know.
I've done nothing but rub you the wrong way.
Don't do this.
Do what?
Come after me.
For this list, we'll be looking at the film industry performers who took film studios to court. Just as when an employee sues an employer, the lawsuits can get nasty, and sometimes the drama that unfolds in the courtroom is even more intense than during the movie. What's your verdict? Leave your objections in the comments. Number 10. Joe Pesci versus Fiore Films. Gotti. It can be argued that Joe Pesci may have dodged a career-shaped bullet when he pulled out of Gotti, a dramatized biopic of the life of mobster John Gotti.
This life ends one of two ways, dead or in jail. I did both.
That didn't stop the semi-retired actor from
Oh god, I remember when that movie came out. They constantly delayed it, and then once it came out, it opened to like the worst, like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, and I saw clips of it, I think. Yeah. I'm surprised I think the weird thing is that it was directed by Kevin Connolly, Eric from Entourage, which is like, damn it. It feels more like a movie that would be a running gag on Entourage where it's like, the guys on Entourage dare Eric, I dare you to make a movie on a gangster. And then it opens to horrible reviews. It's kind of like Lost in Space. It feels more like that. It reminds me of that running gag on Friends where Joey's agent Estelle just gets him in things that are so completely cheesy, like the mac and cheese show. I remember that one where he was in it, and yeah, reminds me a lot of that running gag.
Suing Fiore Films, the production company behind the picture, 7 years before it was actually released. Initially promised the role of mob captain Angelo Ruggiero, Pesci gained 30 pounds in preparation for the role, only to be recast into a literally and figuratively smaller and lesser paid role of underboss Anthony Casso.
No, I don't know. You said it. How do I know? You said I'm funny.
While CEO Mark Fiore maintained that they hadn't cast.
I'm sorry, if I see my cousin Vinny, I have to. I'm sorry, I'm focusing way too much on. God, I'm looking at Marissa Tomei now. She has not aged since my cousin Vinny. She just gets better with. I remember seeing the Dead Meat video, and James A. Janice was like, still can't believe they hit me. Huh? It's possible.
Pesci as Ruggiero at all, the Oscar-nominated actor's likeness was used for promotional material. The two parties reached a settlement.
Well, actually, this would be my first foray into the trial process. I haven't had to go to court yet. Knock on wood.
Number 9. Kevin Costner versus Morgan Creek Productions. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. In 2012, Kevin Costner filed a lawsuit against Morgan Creek Productions for unpaid profits from the 1991 film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Might I have the pleasure of your name before I have you run through?
Robin of Locksley.
Costner alleges that Morgan Creek used deceptive tactics in order to misrepresent the financial earnings of the films, as he was entitled to at least 12.5% of the film's adjusted gross receipts. Morgan Creek claimed that it dealt with Costner in a fair manner, and the actor was paid more than $40 million.
Hold on, I really gotta pause the video because getting a little thing under my arm. Probably should have been in 10 minutes. Just put on some deodorant. So wait. I'm sorry. This happens all the time. Okay, I am recording. I'm recording. So yeah. Problem is the frames per second rate is slowing down. Life ain't perfect.
For his work on the film.
Gives the reward in our partners. Wrong.
This case almost went to trial, but the two sides were able to reach a settlement just before presenting their case in front of a jury.
You wish to end this?
Oh shit, I forgot about the automatic settings again. I hate it. It's like every time I keep it on one setting and it chooses to go the automatic route.
You wish to go home?
Number 8. Bert Lancaster versus Columbia Pictures. Old Gringo. Film studios regularly take out insurance during the course of producing a film in case something should go wrong.
I might have to raise my fee when we do get physical.
When Columbia Pictures tried to get cast insurance for Burt Lancaster for the film Old Gringo, it was too expensive. Lancaster claimed in a 1988 suit against the studio that they wrongfully let him go when they replaced him with Gregory Peck.
What was it?
What was what?
Lancaster sought $1.5 million in damages for breach of an oral contract. He alleged that Columbia never notified him there was a problem obtaining the insurance, even though he had been declared in good health after recovering from quadruple bypass heart surgery. The suit was eventually settled out of court.
I don't need you anymore.
Number 7. Crispin Glover versus Universal and Amblin Entertainment. Back to the Future Part 2. When Crispin Glover didn't return as George McFly for the Back to the Future sequels, producers recast Marty's father with Jeffrey Weissman.
What happened to Grandpa?
Oh, he threw his back out again.
How's Granddad's little pumpkin?
How did you do that? How did he do that?
Oh, out on the golf course.
The studio did not only reduce George McFly's role, but had Weissman wear prosthetics to closely resemble Glover, in addition to reusing footage shot from the first film.
I know what you're gonna say, son. And you're right. You're right.
Glover took exception to this and filed a suit claiming that his likeness was taken without his permission. The case was settled out of court, but did lead to some changes.
Don't you know if you let people walk over you now, they'll be walking over you for the rest of your life?
The Screen Actors Guild has since adopted clauses in their bargaining agreements, preventing producers from reproducing the likeness of other actors. Number 6. Sylvester Stallone versus Warner Brothers. Demolition Man. Similarly to Kevin Costner's situation from earlier, this particular case didn't come to fruition until over 20 years after the movie's release.
That's great.
According to Sylvester Stallone's 2017 lawsuit against Warner Brothers, he had not been receiving his percentage of Demolition Man profits. Warner countered that the film had not made any profit, and therefore they didn't owe Stallone anything.
So let me get this right.
This wasn't Stallone's only grievance with the studio. In 2018, Stallone amended his suit, arguing that he was also owed payments from the films Tango and Cash, Cobra, and The Specialist. This case was eventually settled out of court for an undisclosed sum, and both sides saying that the matter has been resolved.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Number 5. Elizabeth Taylor versus 20th Century Fox. Cleopatra. In a drama that was almost as tense in the courts as it was on the screen, Elizabeth Taylor sued 20th Century Fox, alleging
Also the production was heavily screwed over on this movie. I remember someone saying about this movie, Elizabeth Taylor had a nice set of knockers. I can't remember. I can't really say that shit. I can't say that stuff anymore, but yeah. She did look good in this.
Fox failed to pay her 10% of the box office receipts.
I'm pleased to say I received nothing of the kind.
In response, the studio filed its own suit against Taylor and co-star Richard Burton, claiming their on- and off-set behavior was detrimental to the success of 1963's Cleopatra.
I remember that night in Rome, saying it could still come true.
You said so much that night.
Fox sought $50 million in damages for the long-troubled film that nearly bankrupted the studio, as they suspended all other productions in order to complete it. In the end, a settlement was reached where Taylor is said to have received $7 million, which is about $60 million after adjusting for inflation.
My Ices, I swear it.
Number 4. Dame Olivia De Havilland versus Warner Brothers. Various. Dame Olivia De Havilland was a British-American actress signed to Warner Brothers. At the time, contracts mandated a 7-year commitment. Studios would add time for days actors weren't working, as this was seen as a suspension of the contract.
Is it not true, Miss De Havilland, that on such and such a date, you failed to report to the set to play such and such a role in such and such a film?
This frequently resulted in them being extended past 7 calendar years. De Havilland balked when Warner added 6 months to the end of her contract and filed a suit claiming she fulfilled her obligation to the studio. The courts backed her claim and studios could no longer hold performers past 7 years.
And it's said, you've won in the Superior Court.
The result of this ruling was a big step towards reducing the power studios held over performers, while at the same time giving actors greater artistic freedom.
How can I thank you enough for what you did for us? How can any of us thank you enough?
Number 3. Phase on Love versus Universal. Couples Retreat. Couples Retreat is a comedy released in 2009 starring an ensemble cast. Despite the story following 4 couples trying to heal their relationships at a resort, the marketing material seemed to only focus on 3.
See, that's gonna be a problem. Hell to the no.
This was an oversight that did not go unnoticed by one of the movie's co-leads, Faison Love. Promotional posters appeared to not only omit his likeness, but that of his on-screen partner, Callie Hawk. Love sued Universal for racial discrimination and whitewashing, alleging that only the black artists were left off.
Dave, you're white. You can't understand this. This is something different.
Though Universal replaced the posters in the US, the originals were still used internationally. In 2021, he withdrew the suit after reaching an amicable agreement with Universal. Number 2. Gerard Butler vs. New Image, Millennium Media, and Padre Nuestro Productions. Olympus Has Fallen. Only a day after our number 1 entry broke the internet, Gerard Butler launched his own suit against the makers of Olympus Has Fallen, seeking at least $10 million from the film's profits.
Yeah, I know.
In the suit, Butler claims that the producers purposely misrepresented the film's sales so that they wouldn't have to pay what he's owed, while at the same time an unreported $8 million went to company executives.
Why'd you do it?
Butler went on to do 2 more films in the Fallen franchise, but that didn't stop him from demanding his share of the financially successful series. Millennium responded to the suit, saying that nothing is owed to Butler, and it was disappointed in the resulting situation.
Yeah, but it hasn't worked out so far.
On a side note, I will say this. Olympus Has Fallen is like the best one, in my opinion. It's just, everything after that is just not as good, unfortunately.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You'll have the option to be notified for occasional videos.
Watch Mojo making number 1 the thumbnail. It's a classic Watch Mojo move.
Or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Scarlett Johansson vs. Disney Studios. Black Widow. After COVID-19 forced Disney to push back the release of Black Widow, they switched gears and simultaneously released the film on their streaming service Disney+.
Ugh, it's fine. I'm actually better on my own.
However, this was a problem, as Johansson's contract stipulated an exclusive theatrical release, along with a part of her salary based on box office performance.
Great. Perfect timing.
In her suit, she alleges that she tried to negotiate new terms after learning of the streaming plans, but both Disney and Marvel didn't respond. Disney, for its part, claimed it complied with Johansson's contract, and she's already been well paid for the role. The result of this lawsuit could have large implications for how performers are compensated in the streaming era.
Shouldn't have gone to all this trouble. I'm done.
Do you agree with our picks?
And eventually is now blacklisted by that goddamn. I always like to say this. Scarlett Johansson walks into a bar. By her side is Ray Fisher, drinking a beer. Or a bourbon, depends. Could be any bar. And Ray Fisher looks over and is like, blacklisted by the studio? Yeah. Welcome to the club. And they just, give their own cheers and just drink. That is another thing, though, the Ray Fisher one. Ray Fisher is claiming that they mistreated, yet Warner Brothers said, oh, no, those are false claims. Who am I kidding? This is Warner Brothers. They intentionally screwed over Zack Snyder a million times, and Zack Snyder does not want to work with Warner Brothers anymore. And in many ways, I'm kind of glad that he's moved on to other things, like going to Netflix and, him having, like, the full creative range on Army of the Dead and that stuff. But for me, it pisses me off that Scarlett Johansson and Ray Fisher got mistreated by the studio, to the fact, well, like I said, it's China's fault. The pandemic happened, and we were deprived of theatrical experiences, which, in my opinion, pretty much goddamn sucks. And oh man, I remember when Scarlett Johansson said she wanted to do a Tower of Terror movie for Disney, and then of course, I mean, I know she then changes her mind, but it's like. Also, the movie came out, like, July was practically packed with a bunch of films. I mean, Space Jam, A New Legacy, Old. Also, Marvel movies, in my opinion, are sadly known to take huge drops in their second weekend because, like, Avengers Endgame, for example, after it broke a bunch of box office records, it took a huge decline. It went from 356 million. I can't remember how much it made in its opening. I remember it was like the second weekend. It was still number one, but it was like 150 something, which is sadly known because it's like I don't know what it is that makes Marvel movies are sadly known to take their are also sadly very known for their infamous drops in second week, like 56% drop at best. And it wasn't really like I remember hearing Kevin Feige try to stop Disney in simultaneous release, but unfortunately, it's Disney who has the final word. At this point, Marvel is the only reason why I latched on to Disney because after what they did with firing Gina Carano off The Mandalorian, the initial firing of James Gunn from Guardians Volume 3, I don't really trust those bastards at Disney anymore. In fact, ever since Bob Chapek joined Disney, it's only been getting worse. I know people say, oh, but you still watch their movies. Like I said, my relationship with Disney is the scene from Star Trek Generations where Data tries alcohol for the first time. And he's like, I hate this. It is revolting. Whoopi Goldberg is Disney. More, Data is me. Please. Also, given how bad Disney screwed over Star Wars with with the last two installments of the sequel trilogy, it shows that again, I'm pretty sure Marvel is the only thing that's giving Disney a bunch of success. But that's because I don't know. I feel like it's because, Marvel has more of a creative finger now over their films rather than Disney. And at the time, Marvel in the beginning was like Kevin Feige never had complete creative control initially. Originally it was Ike Perlmutter who was leading the movie division. And, Ike Perlmutter made a lot of decisions that made a bunch of people tell Marvel that are still pissed off at Marvel. And Kevin Feige was like, I think went to Bob Iger and said, if you don't fire Ike Perlmutter, I'm leaving. And from what I know, Kevin Feige just did not get along with other people at Marvel. And now it's only the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's the division. So it's like anything that has his approval or if he's involved with it is only what he considers canon or something. But yeah, like I went off topic for so damn long, but it happens. What do you expect? Nobody is perfect, all right? Give me a break. But I'm gonna end the video here. This is gonna be the last Watch Mojo video I do as a full reaction. This was WatchMojo.com's top 10 times. Okay, I gotta read the title again. Top 10 times actors sue the movie studio. I will leave a link to the original video down below. Link to the Insta, link to Watch Mojo. Go check them out. I got one more video to do, and it's a trailer, but I'm gonna stop doing these longer reactions. Probably I'll just do trailer reactions, or still waiting for the Mirror Man 2 million subscriber special.